So I hope everybody, the sessions have been going well. I hope it's been very informative and that you're getting a lot out of these sessions. I think that there's a lot of innovation here, and there's a lot of new things, and there's also a lot of old things. This morning we have a number of world-class speakers, and we have companies represented today, our Saudi Aramco, and also Alcoa, OSI Soft, and Integration Objects. So, and I'll introduce the speakers as they come up. But first, I'm going to have a short presentation just to kind of put a framework around EMI so that everybody's kind of starting on the same page. If you came to the first session, you don't have to go to both sessions, but I will repeat a couple of the slides just so that everybody's on the same page, so to speak, so that the definitions and everything everybody's clear on. So what I'd like to do is start with a definition, ARC's definition of EMI, which may vary. In some companies, they have different solutions, different capabilities within their AMI tool set. And we were thinking enterprise manufacturing intelligence. It's also sometimes called operations intelligence. It's also called industrial intelligence. So there's a lot of terms for manufacturing intelligence. But that's why I want to frame it for everybody. So I'll also talk a little bit about the drivers and benefits, and also just a couple of survey results. And part one was focused this morning on the integration and the implementation of the solution. And part two is going to be focused more on the analytics and the dashboards and the visualization. So you're going to see that, and we're going to actually have a live demo, I think, this afternoon, if all goes well. And then we'll follow that with our two presentations from our two speakers from Alcoa and from Saudi Aramco. And then we'll have the panel discussion. Then we'll have a couple of people join us, experts in this area, join us for the panel. So just to start and get everybody on the same framework, you have your control and automation system. And it's collecting all this data that people have been collecting for years and storing it, or you might even have some silos and people that have data stored on their laptops or in a spreadsheet somewhere. You have different machines, and it might be old systems, it might be new systems. You have a modern MES CPM system, what we call a modern CPM system, that collects all of this data. And in the capabilities, you might have planning and scheduling. You might have recipe management, batch management. You may also have workflow and process management, have quality management. Some people include that here, traceability. And we're EMI, and we see EMI as fitting in this space, and it includes the KPIs, the visualization, the dashboards, also the integration of the data, and the contextualization, the aggregation of the data. Just to kind of like frame it once more for you, just to put it all in perspective, what we would include is this is kind of what we talked about this morning, is the integration, the aggregation, and the management of that data. The data contextualization and modeling of the data, and this can be extensive for some people because it's not that easy in many cases. And we talked about this morning how this can add to the cost of a system. Also, the data quality management. Is it good data? Is it quality data? And sometimes you don't have good data. It's not always true. The analytics, and this can go from, and a lot of people are talking about analytics like it's something new, but a lot of the process systems have been doing analytics for ages, and this can be predictive analytics and even prescriptive analytics to tell you what's going to happen when you do something. And the visualization. So all of those are what we consider part of EMI. Okay, so really, the reason we call it manufacturing and intelligence, I want to emphasize the intelligence part because it really is about the intelligence. And the intelligence is probably the most important part of the EMI system because that's where you're going to get your value. And I looked up in the dictionary, and intelligence means the ability to understand or deal with new or trying situations and to deal with that knowledge, It also means the ability to apply knowledge to manipulate one's environment. So I think it's perfect. It fits this space perfectly. Because if you take the data, and you can see the data, and turn it into information, and turn it into knowledge, that gives you the intelligence that you need to make a decision, and then you make an actionable decision, that's where you're going to see the value. And that's really where people are seeing lots of benefits, enormous benefits, and it's one of the reasons that they implement EMI systems. So what are some of the drivers? Well, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because you've been seeing this all over the place the last few days, but the Internet of Things is driving EMI, the big data, it's all driving EMI. They're all making it, and it is the fastest growing sector of the MES, CPM as we call it, which is for the process industry, collaborative production management. And the visualization and the cloud computing, all of that is driving EMI. And so that's why we're seeing this as a very fast-growing space. So what about leveraging the intelligence? This was a report that Oracle had done, and they said that they talked to a lot of executives. 93% said that they feel like they're losing money because they're not getting the value from the data. And that's probably true. They're not able to leverage that information. So that's why it's so important to get the information and to do something with it. And I've talked to these plant managers, and they're like, well, we're storing it. We're not doing anything. We're collecting the information. We have information, but we're starving for some value from it, you know. So what's important with EMI? Well, one of the things is having very simple, intuitive, easy-to-use application tools and dashboards that you can get the information really quickly, and then implementing them with using some of these innovative technologies you're seeing. Like people were talking this morning about how mobility, they almost laughed at people a few years ago when they said, you want it on a smart device? You want it on a tablet? You want it? But nowadays it's just like everybody's got that. So, or not everybody, but it's becoming more commonplace. And then also efficiency and performance improvements are important, and then getting that return on value and the time to value. So in the visualization area, one of the things you can't, you know, is the importance of dashboard designs. It's so important to have that visualization, and the way that you design them is really, really critical. So who's with me? So anyway, visualization dashboards, what people tell me is they want it to be accessible. They want it to be simple, crisp, and clear. They want it to be able to be mobile, to be able to implement and deploy it very easily, and understand the information at a glance, and have contextualized information. So one of the things is, like, when you talk about context, the first thing I thought of is the automobile, because it's getting so automated today, and you think a Google car. And I used to think when I was young, they told us, oh, machines will never replace humans. But guess what, folks? They have. We have a Google car driving around without a human. So it's getting there. I don't think it's in manufacturing, but I wouldn't be surprised, maybe, not in my career, but maybe in my lifetime, I might see autonomous manufacturing. So, you know, you think about what the context is. It's like you're driving along, what's my speed? Well, what's the speed limit? So now you're driving 50 miles an hour. Are you going too fast? Well, it depends. If you're going through town, probably, you know, and how long will it take you to get to me there? You might have information about that. Did I get enough sleep? You know, am I too tired? Do I need lunch? I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can do. So when you take that information, you have to think in terms of plant and the sensor and the temperature and the pressure and all the information. Is it in context? Does it make sense? So and visualization does drive performance. So there's different roles and different dashboards, and a lot of people are building different types of dashboards for different types of people with different types of metrics. And so these are key, and the design is so important. So I'd use some examples from different companies. If I missed yours, you know, send me some and good examples, and I'll use them next year. It wasn't to promote or not to promote anybody. It's just to have some examples. And what people said to me was, we want 3 clicks to anywhere. Another person said to me, I want to have 2 clicks to complete everything. So, and I'd like to see that too, to tell you the truth. But I think that's where we're going, you know, as far as simplicity goes. So also the analytics, you know, and analytics are the tool that, and the dashboards are also the tools that really fuel the EMI, because, I mean, all of them fuel EMI, but but they help you, enable you. They have to be actionable. They have to be easy to get and easy to, whether it's mobile or however they get the information. And also the tools, you need to be predictive. You need to be able to use some of the historical information and the new information so that you can make a decision based on what you're seeing and what's going on, and so that you can make an actionable decision from that information. And that's really key. So more on analytics. We hear a lot about analytics, so to put it in perspective, I think it's really more about the intelligence. The analytics are important, and those are the tools that are going to get you there. But the reality is it's the information and the way that you display that information that's going to really make the difference. So the other part we hear is it has to be mobile. We've been hearing that this morning. We heard a lot about it. And we're seeing people actually implementing voice, gestures, and other functionality that we're seeing. And eventually some people said they're going to be able to feel something or smell it in the plant. If there's a particular smell or something like that, or for a fire, it may show the direction of the wind so that you know which way to exit, if there's an emergency or something like that, or a noxious chemical I'm hearing. So what about the KPIs and metrics? Well, KPIs and metrics are really, really important, and they are vital for success. And you can't really say enough about KPIs, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but the metrics are so important because they can drive good and bad behavior. And last year we had an example of somebody that actually had a metric that was driving bad behavior. And this was a person that actually went to jail for it. And she was in the lab, she was fudging data is what she was doing. So sometimes that can lead to situations like that. So they have to be re-examined periodically. But good metrics can optimize the process. They can do that. So they need to be looked at, and a lot of time needs to be spent on metrics. And they need to align with the business objectives and the business culture. They don't get better with age, folks, not like us. In this case, they become obsoleted. They need to be updated. The real purpose of metrics is to make better decisions and to understand and know, and what gets measured is what gets done. So again, you really need to look at what are you trying to improve, what's the decision that you're trying to make, and look at those factors around that and work from there, because that's how you're going to get to your good metrics. And there's a whole science behind that, and I'm not going to get into that. But the benefits from EMI are basically, you could probably narrow them down into these 5 categories, whether it's production, waste, safety, quality, compliance, or energy management. Those are where the benefits are going to apply. And I actually did a survey, and I took a few of them, but these are kind of what you can expect in each of these areas. People told me these are the type of benefits. In the compliance reporting, you could probably get as much as 30% benefit. Depends on the industry, depends on the company, depends on what they're doing at that time. Energy management, between 21 and 30%. So you could argue this is just the results of this survey. Quality improvements, asset management. So finally, some of the benefits, and I talked about this morning from EMI. We talked about the connected and the integrated, getting real-time actionable insights from these dashboards, and improving the productivity ultimately is really what you want to do. And big data by itself is virtually useless unless you actually do something that's actionable and delivers value to the organization. And that's really where you want to go, whether it's offline, online, unstructured, structured data, all data, but real-time data. Thank you very much.